Mr. Vice President, great to be with you again.
Good to see you again.
Let me just ask you right off the bat, when you think of Pittsburgh, what do you think of?
I think of the people I grew up with. I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and then in Claymont, Delaware. It's a little steel town, much smaller than Pittsburgh, but it was a major steel town. And the folks I grew up with were, labor meant unions, and everybody thought it was pretty important that 40 hours worth of work plus busting their neck. And they all went through hard times. All the Pittsburgh, Scranton, Claymont, all the places all my friends. I spent a lot of time in Pittsburgh too, as you probably know. And but I like it a lot. They're as I said, they're the people I grew up with. They're the middle class, working class folks who bust their neck and did well, but went through some really tough times.
Well, I'm going to come back to some of the economics in a minute, but let me just start, if I may. You've committed to naming a woman as your vice president. Two quick questions. Can you give us some sense of your timetable? Where are you in naming that running mate? And will you commit that that person would be a woman of color?
No, I'll commit that it be a woman because I think it's very important that that my administration look like the public, look like the nation. And I committed there will be a woman of color on the Supreme Court. Doesn't mean there won't be a vice president as well. But the point is that I think it's really important now that we establish once and for all, we should have had a woman president already in Hillary, in my view. I did a lot of events, worked for her. But I think it's really important to demonstrate that, and there's a number of really qualified women out there. And in terms of who to pick, we've just beginning the process. We shortly be announcing the committee I've named to review this and to begin to look through the backgrounds of the various potential nominees. And that's just getting underway.
Do you think we'll have a candidate by the Memorial Day?
Well, my guess is we probably will. I don't make that guarantee, but by that time, this nominating process is, because of the good graces of Bernie Sanders and others, has ended earlier than it usually does, even though we've not had a convention yet. I'm quite sure that'd be the case, because right now the convention is scheduled in August before Memorial Day. Are you saying Memorial or Labor?
I said Memorial Day.
Oh, no. It won't be before Memorial Day. No, it won't. We're just getting the process underway.
4th of July?
Well, I don't know. I'm not going to make that commitment.
All right. What about this? I've heard some speculation about Michelle Obama as vice president. If she said to you she'd be willing to be your running mate, would you ask her?
Oh, I'd take her in a heartbeat. She's brilliant. She knows the way around. She is a really fine woman, and the Obamas are great friends. I mean, Jill and Michelle and I and Barack and Jill. One of the things you've observed, I think, on your show in the past, that presidential and vice presidential historians have pointed out there's probably never been a president and vice president and a family as close, personally close as we've become. So I have great admiration for her. She's brilliant and she's wonderful. I don't think she has any desire to live near the White House again.
Well, let me ask you about a local issue, and it's an important one here in Pennsylvania. Many are making a good living here in southwestern Pennsylvania out at the Shell petrochemical plant. There's a lot of work going on in natural gas in the counties in this area, and they use fracking.
Yes.
And so the question, Mr. Vice President, is if you're elected president, would you shut down this industry?
No, I wouldn't shut down this industry. I know our Republican friends are trying to say I said that. I said I would not do any new leases on federal land. 90% of the leases are not on federal land to begin with. But I would just make sure that it was being made sure by your governor as well that methane is not escaping, the water is not being contaminated. But I would not shut it down, no.
On another related issue that has been very important out here, trade issues. President Trump says that he's a good friend of the steel workers and the steel industry, claiming that his steel tariffs, particularly with respect to China, are helping local steel workers. Do you think they're helping? And if not, what would you do to help the steel industry in Pennsylvania and other states?
Well, I do what we did in our administration. We, in fact, came down on China for dumping steel. We did it on 3 different occasions. We made sure that they stopped. But look, Trump has it all backwards in terms of his supposed concern for American labor and American organized labor, which is the steel industry by and large. And that is that, you know, he's focused on all the wrong things. Look what he did. He got in a trade war with China over agriculture when we should be if anything, it's about China stealing our intellectual property, violating other international organizations and rules. And look how he is, you know, when he was, because of the trade deal he wanted to get, he made sure he didn't say anything about China and the whole pandemic that we're dealing with right now. Way back in January, I said he should step up and challenge China. They're engaging in an activity that they're not being truthful to the rest of the world about. And but typical of him, every time he is behind the eight ball, he tries to turn it around and say the other person is the reason why those things happen. He has been terrible on trade thus far. And even look what he did. He's always looking to the corporations. When he tried to he had a big giveaway to the pharma industry in there, you know, until the Democrats said, no, we're not doing that. So I don't think his trade policy has been very helpful at all to either the steel workers in southeastern Pennsylvania, western Pennsylvania, or anyone else, including agriculture.
Well, now let me ask you about coronavirus since you brought it up. As you know, we've had demonstrations, protests right here in Pittsburgh today over Governor Wolf's stay-at-home orders. Now, the governor has said he's going to do some relaxing beginning May 8th. But are you worried that governors are feeling pressure either from the president or from these demonstrations and protests to reopen too soon?
Well, I am. Look, the idea that these are not that they're compatible, that you can open soon and still deal with a virus. Look, it's a false choice. Unless you're able to deal with the virus, we're never going to be in a place where we're going to get back our economy. And so science matters. And all Dale's been saying, Governor Wolf, is listen to the scientists and do it in a rational way and do it slowly. Look, we don't have, in Pittsburgh, you have a great hospital, the University of Pittsburgh Hospital out there. Well, guess what? They don't have enough tests that they're able to do. In the state of Pennsylvania, there's not enough material to actually do testing. We need to have testing before you know what you can open, who you can, how, and under what circumstances you can open. It's not done. Look, the president said, for example, we're short X number of swabs in the state of Pennsylvania. The swabs to be able to go in your nostrils and the back of your nasal cavity and determine whether you have the disease. Well, guess what? He has said, up to now, I've been back March 17th, I said, use the power you have as commander-in-chief. Go in and say, here's the deal. We're going to, in fact, make sure that the Defense Production Act, I want this corporation to make X million swabs. Well, he hadn't done a thing. Until yesterday at a press conference, all of a sudden he says he thinks that's a good thing. I've been urging him to do that since, I think, March 16th or something. He has been so slow getting out of the gate. You know, the idea, talk about slow, this is slow-mo Trump. I mean, everything is like it's in slow motion. You've got to move. People are getting hurt badly.
Day one, when you're elected, if you're elected president, what is the first thing you're going to do as president of the United States on January 20th?
Well, there's a number of things. The first thing I'm going to do is make sure we reestablish and have if we haven't already, and I'm doubtful he'll do it, the pandemic office within the White House to deal with a recurrence of the virus or future viruses, number one. Number two, we also have to make sure that we deal with two other things. One is I will immediately rejoin the Paris Climate Accord so we can get about the business of dealing with the existential threat we have, and also an opportunity to provide enormous number of good paying jobs by dealing with the environment and getting back into the Paris Climate Accord. And thirdly, I would send to the United States Congress right off the bat a immigration bill to provide a pathway to citizenship for the roughly 11 million people out there. And by the way, what I'm hopeful of I'm hopeful. We're the only nation of terrible things that we've had to face. We've come out stronger. And the things that we're going to come out stronger on is we can provide good, paying, serious jobs by rebuilding our infrastructure, by engaging in a whole new effort to rebuild us and provide good jobs, union jobs. And so there's an opportunity here, and we have to seize it right away. We should be leading the world, not following the world.
Mr. Vice President, it's been great to have the chance to talk to you again. I hope we see you again out here in Pittsburgh once this is all done and over with, and you can come visit us.
I promise you it will, because Pennsylvania is not only the keystone state, it's the key. It's the key to if the Democrats can be the next president of the United States.
Thank you, sir, very much. Good to be with you.